Today we do a short history on the Fender Jaguar featuring a 1966. Hey, James G here with Tarpley Music in Fort Worth, Texas. But remember, we are online, tarpleymusic.com, whenever you need us. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button below. So today, we actually have an employee who owns this 1966 Jaguar, and we thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to kind of give a little bit of the history of the Fender Jaguar and kind of show off this guitar a little bit. It's pretty interesting. So in '58, and the Jazz Master came out, and that was their first attempt at doing a high-end guitar with a lot of tonal, capabilities. Did not go over extremely well. So in 1962, they tried again with the Jaguar. So to give you, this was supposed to be their premier product at the time, and to give you an idea, in 1962, these were $379.50. So the equivalent today is a little over $3,500. So at that time, that's a month worth of salary for uh, most average house, income students. So very high end guitar. There were some differences. It was the first guitar to have 22 frets instead of 21, and it was a shorter scale length. The scale length on this is a 24-inch, and the scale length is being where the bridge measurement to the nut is. So your Strats and Tellys were at a 25 and a half. So that was another difference that they had going here. And of course, this body shape, very similar to an offset double cutaway, kind of like the Jazzmaster. But the other thing that they did is for the first time, they actually did limited runs of custom colors. So before that, if you had a custom color guitar, that's literally what it was. It was a custom color guitar. And so they had several colors, and they used the DuPont Duco car color paint. So that's why you see a lot of similar guitars at the times that were a lot like the paint colors in your candy apple reds and your sonic blues and your things like that. So very cool. This being the Sunburst, which is one of the main ways it would have come out, but they did actually have Olympic white and surf green, and some of those colors were out as well. The other big switch was the pups, right? The pickups were different. So in the Jazzmaster, you had your thin, kind of a wide single coil. Well, this went more to a single coil like a Strat, but if you notice real closely, there's this metal piece around it, often referred to as the claw. And so the claw being around the single coil, and a lot of people think that the reason they did that was almost as a shielding, because those thin single coils from the Jazzmaster tend to have a lot of sonic problems and a lot of noise and things like that. So that's kind of where that came from there. So the claw, right, as comes out here. And so the 62, this guitar came out. Um, and of course, once again, most of the players were wanting Strats and Tellys. Now, who it did hit really big with was the surf bands at the time. So you saw a lot of these guitars in the Beach Boys and some bands like that from 62 to 65. And often they would have all matching suits, and they would have matching color guitars. And so it did really well from that. And what kind of killed that in 65 was the British invasion. So, and of course, in 64, Fender sells off to CBS. So there were a few changes. In 64, they went to a 3 plastic pick guard. Here in the clay dots that they had, they were all dot inlay, went to perloid. Well, in 66, it went from another change here, which I actually have in front of me. The 66 was the first year that they did a block inlay. So here you go. F-style tuners. You can actually see the F printed on back here and on back of the neck plate. So for a long time, these guitars just really they were always in the books. Most people were wanting Strats and Tellys still, and after the British invasion, they just kind of started collecting dust in stores, especially in your big London stores and your New York stores. So what comes along? Well, there's a lot of punk bands that started coming out in like the early 80s, and they were finding these guitars collecting dust in the corners and could get them for pretty cheap. So they started picking up these guitars, and the next thing you know, the punk scene starts using these, and they start coming back. One of the biggest being Johnny Marr from the Smiths, who actually has his own signature Johnny Marr signature, which we've done a video on. It's right here. So that really started picking up these guitars coming out in the Jaguars we saw in the punk scene. And then after the punk scene, there was a short die off like that. And the next thing you know, it came out with the grunge scene in the 90s. You might recognize this guy. So Kurt Cobain, and he brings out the Jaguar, but modifies it with humbuckers. Thanks, Kurt. So that became another big boom from that, and it's kind of stayed in the market ever since. And so, and actually, they in '99 they came out with the Kurt Cobain model that actually has humbuckers in it. And the cool thing is you'll see now you can see Jaguars from the Squire Classic Vibe series all the way to Americans. And so it's really kind of a neat history of how this thing started. It really didn't do very well, and how it kind of created. It came back for you and went away, and now it's come back again. And so I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. But if you look at something like this, like a real, actual 1966 guitar, this is Brazilian rosewood. It's an alder body, and they made them with 7.25 radius necks, so great for chord changing. They really were trying to gear them towards the really top players in your jazz cats and all those guys at the time, but those guys were they were okay with their hollow bodies, or they wanted a Strat or Telly, and they weren't really changing. So it's kind of funny. All right, so to go over the controls of the Jaguar, a lot of people will look at it and say all these switches and knobs and stuff. It's really not as confusing as you would think. So I want to go over uh, the Jaguar and kind of what the thought process behind that was, because it was really other people who came to Leo saying, "Hey, we need," because he wasn't a guitar player, couldn't even tune one at the time. So I don't think he really understood the need for that. But when players came in and said, "Hey, we want to do this thing with all the switches," Leo's like, "Oh, okay, well then let's do that," right? But this is really what they were going for. Like I said before, we now have the single coil style like on a Strat. So we really just have the neck position and the bridge position. So you want to think of this as its own section, and then there's these switches section, and then this is your overall master of volume and tone that's going to affect any of that. So this top part, if it is up, that means I'm controlling this section up here. The neck pickup is on, and then this is a roller switch here that gives me my volume and tone for that. So I can take the volume is out. I can roll off the highs. That's extreme, but it works, right? So from there, that's what that top switch is. So when I take this switch down here, essentially, I think I'm pushing down. I need to go down to these switches now. So when they're down, these are all off. The first two switches are just your on-off switches for each pickup. So the first one, here's your neck. And if I take that off, the second one, here's your bridge. If I have both of them going, they're both on. These controls won't do anything to that now. Now the last switch is a mid-cut. It's also known as a strangle switch, but what it really does is cuts the mids out of everything that's active. So it takes the throat out of it a little bit so you can get really, really punchy. So here would be... Definitely hear when I sustain a chord out like that, right? So essentially that's what that is. When this is up, I got my volume and tone here for just the neck. When I go down here, I can do a combination of my neck and my bridge, and then I have a mid cut. And then this is overall volume and tone for that. So it's really not that confusing, but the other part of it is you can see, especially in 62, this was a crazy idea to have all these tonal options. So I want to go through those tonal options now. So I'm going through a 1968 Princeton Reverb Amp that we also are borrowing from an employee, just to kill it. This will have its own video as well. And I'm just right now, I just got it clean. I'm sitting at the bass in trebler at about 6. It does have onboard reverb, of course, and then this is the speed intensity for the tremolo. And then you got your volume here. So I'm sitting with a Sennheiser E906, just right off the cone a little bit here. So I'm starting up, and here's my neck position. The volume and tone is all the way up. Apparently it's not. All right, so the first position I have is this is up. So this is my neck position with this volume and tone control. And I just have them both all the way open now. Very versatile, great rhythm sound. So now I'm going down here to the lead position, but it's giving me these switches here. So the first one would be if I just had the neck pickup on again, and the mid cut is off. So you can hear it just a little bit different from where I just was because I don't have that tone knob there. And then throwing in, now this is just the bridge pickup by itself. So it's that really brightness that you would expect from a, that kind of a single coil back there. Then I can have both on. So you can hear that difference of turning that neck pickup in and out with the bridge. Of course, when I have both pickups, I can also strangle that with the mid-cut switch, which is great for your kind of stuff. So very cool. It's not at all hard once you kind of figure out these two, but there's a lot of tonal differences here. And as just playing some of those chords, you can kind of see why the surf guys really picked up on it, the capability of doing that. And not so much, there was not really an added different tone. I think that the jazz guys were really excited about. So it's kind of why it went some different styles. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, this is an extremely small part of the history of the Jaguar. I just kind of want to give a little bit of that to get you interested from that standpoint. There's a lot of great material out there to learn the depths of this whole thing. But as the history of the Jaguar, as I've read it over and over and over, those were kind of the key elements that really came out to me of just how this guitar kind of came out in 62. A few years later, Leo Fender's going to CBS. They keep the guitar, kind of how they made some changes, how it went away and then showed up and then went away and showed up again. And so it's a pretty neat story to me, not to mention to show off, literally playing a piece of history right here in this 1966. This beautiful Jag. So it's been really, really fun. So we do plan on doing a lot more of these videos with really famous models of guitars. So really excited about doing them, giving a nice little short history, kind of the sound and how they sound, in through their vintage amp counterparts and things like that. So hope you did. Hope you learned something. Hope you got some enjoyment out of this. If you did, please hit like. We love when you like this stuff. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, of course, please just hit subscribe there and become a part of our subscription family. And if you would like to know as we drop more videos, because we are dropping more history videos, product demo videos, shorts, all kinds of stuff. We're doing it every single week. If you'd like to know as those hit, you can just turn on notifications and we'll see you on the next one.